Hello and welcome to the V2 Football Podcast. I am your host Shane Lees, and joining me this week I've got Nick Davey.
Good morning.
Richard Hero Hudson.
Hello.
And Anthony Kendrick.
In case I don't see you, good evening and good night.
Our introductions are getting weirder and weirder. This week there's no games, nothing like that. We're just talking straight football for an hour, the way we all like it. So it's just been deadline day on Tuesday. Well, what do we all think of deadline day? I watched it pretty much start to finish because I am a lazy bastard. And yeah, it was terribly boring as far as I was concerned. What does everyone else think? Was it worth the hype?
It didn't help.
I'm so grateful I was working all day.
Sorry, Richard, you were saying?
I think it didn't help that it finished at 6 o'clock.
No.
I think the part of the excitement is like you get home from work, you stick the TV on, and you know, and you've got Jim White and Natalie Sawyer in a nice yellow dress thing. And then you go to somewhere and you've got a bloke shoving a dildo in the reporter's ear.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But the what? Oh yeah, the dildo. Yeah, no, it's no, I
can't believe you forgot Dildo Gate.
Yeah, I was working all day, so I got in and it all finished, and it all seemed pretty boring.
Well, I can't actually remember what the reason was, but I'm fairly certain there was a good and, in fact, legal reason why they had to finish it at 6 o'clock, because I think it might have been something to do with bank holiday.
No, it was to do with the squad listings for the Champions League, I think it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every other European window's transfer deadline day was Monday. It was moved to Tuesday because of bank holiday. It happens to us every year.
Yeah.
Okay, well, alright, I didn't really know anything about that. Okay, well, what do we...
They did have the right, though. It was the Premier League themselves, though, that decided to do it at 6 o'clock. They could have done it at the usual, 11 o'clock.
Yeah, they should have done it just 11 o'clock, yeah.
Well, I hope they do change it back, because it is much better when you're waiting to midnight, because it feels a bit more significant when it's midnight, when it's 6 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock, that's tea time.
It's easier to get last minute deals done as well, because the roads are quieter, so players can quickly zoom. Well, it's true.
Peter Crouch can pretend he's on a helicopter.
Yeah, well, I mean, that wasn't what I was thinking.
Odin Wingy can start driving himself down to London and force his own move.
So I was thinking that the deadline day is something that isn't terribly exciting, but is made out to be very exciting. It's just something, it's part of that sort of football stupid cult nowadays, and we all love it in our own just sort of absolutely stupid way, even though we all know it's a bit silly. But when it finishes at midnight, it's got a bit of significance. It's got it's a midnight finish. It's not a tea time finish. I think that just sort of makes it a bit less fun in its own way.
I think the big exciting thing of it happened the day before.
What, De Gea?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about De Gea in a minute, but I want to ask you, what do you think was the best purchase of deadline day?
Well, on deadline day itself, or the whole transfer window?
On deadline day itself.
I think personally, West Ham signing Mikel Antonio.
Antonio? See, I would have put that personally as one of the worst ones.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I just think...
What was the rundown on the ones that happened on the last day?
You've got a list.
You don't want to ask me that immediately. I'll just try and give it up quickly. Shh. Right, no, but Mikel Antonio, I think... He's played for Southampton before. He was very good for us, and I personally like him, but I think he's just too hot and cold for the Premier League.
I think he's awesome. I think he's one of the best players in the Championship, if not the best. He's got strength. I mean, admittedly, it's not very good. You've got on your CV Bruno Salvatore had you in your back pocket, as we saw on the first game of the of the football season this year when Brighton beat Forest 1-0. But no, I think he's got everything. I mean, he's Forest's league. I think he's a bit like the Wildawar. He scored in every game, I think, for Forest season. He was quality last year, and I think he's a West Ham upgrade.
I've got a little list of all the ones that have gone now.
I think, to be fair, I may have shouted that out too early. I don't think he was the best transfer, but it was a very good one. I think Alex Song was probably even better signing than that, to be fair.
Okay, yeah. Richard, do you want to quickly read us out the deadline day transfers?
Some of the ones Les got. I think that was a fairly decent one for Villa.
I think Van Dijk for Southampton was a good signing.
I think that was a quality one.
Dick Van Dijk.
Glenn Murray from Palace to Bournemouth for $4 million. Yelovich to West Ham for $3 million.
Awful signing.
Don't know how to pronounce it, but the Chelsea got one from Nantes. Jolly Bodji.
Papi Gillo Bodji, I think it is. in what I can only presume is the worst possible way it could have been pronounced, in the least accented version. Gilobodji.
Everton weirdly spent $9.5 million on a player from the Argentinian league.
Yeah, and if you've read about it, Tim Vickery, the BBC pundit, who is pretty much the most informed person on South American football outside of South America, has said this is a terrible signing.
Yeah,
and that they just misunderestimated it. Yeah, and Joe, he tends to be right. Everything he said about Brazil when it came to the World Cup, he got spot on. Everything he seems to say about players who move from South America to Europe is almost always spot on. So I'm inclined to think he's got this one right, and they have literally just peed away £9.5 million on a defender.
And Everton don't tend to spend a huge amount.
It's a lot.
So that was just a bizarre signing for them.
Everton?
Time for a couple of million, you'd think, obviously I'd be inclined to agree with Tim Vickery. The fact they've spent so much, I don't know. I think there must be something about him. A scout or someone must have seen something special.
Even from the Argentinian league as well, it's like, who throws nearly £10 million at the Argentinian league?
Yeah, we were close to signing someone from the Argentinian league, Boca Juniors, for $10 million.
Carlos Tevez plays there.
It is one of those ones. I said this a few weeks ago, and quite a few people disagreed with me. I said, when people say that English players are overpriced, it's not true, because everyone's overpriced. That's one thing I think the window's proved. £9.5 million on an unproven Argentinian player. Oh yeah, they're overpriced, but everyone is. Everyone.
I think there's a player that did move on transfer deadline day, which I presume we're going to be talking about quite shortly, who may have been slightly overpriced.
Yeah, we'll talk about him shortly, but okay, I want to say that I think the best transfers on deadline day, I'm going to pick two because I can't decide between them, is Glenn Murray, because he is guaranteed to get goals. He's a proven goal scorer.
Why just bring it up, mate?
Or Aaron Lennon, who went to Everton, because he is a massively experienced Premier League player, and I think he gives Everton a bit more. It gives Everton a bit more width, which is I think what they need.
I'm not sure Aaron Lennon will start for Everton. They've got a lot of options in that sort of area, like Smith and
I don't think he'll be a starter, but I think for the money to get that kind of Premier League experience, you can't get that kind of value for money these days elsewhere. So I think they've done well to go and get him.
I think the whole transfer deadline day though is really overpriced. You see some of the deals like the Antonio for $7 million, and some of the other deals. It's so much money to have spent on players.
It is. We're going to talk about the most expensive one now. We'll talk a bit more generally about Man United as well. Anthony Martial. 19-year-old Frenchman who scored, I think, 11 goals. Was it in the French league?
He was, in his defence on those 11 goals, he was the top scoring under 20-year-old in the main leagues in Europe last year.
Wow. So 36.5 million, is that reflective? And it could rise to up to, I think, about 60 odd million, couldn't it?
Of the rises though, there's a 5 million rise if he gets the Balloon d'Or.
That's never going to happen.
Which, if he's getting that, then he's bloody worth it.
Yeah, okay, but 36.5 million, that's the basic fee. Here's the question I want to ask. What did James Wilson do to piss off Louis van Gaal so much? Because you've got he's done it in the Premier League, only in a few games, but he's a 19-year-old player.
He could be the next Harry Kane.
He could be I think he's got very good potential. I think he's already at quite a good level. And then they go and spend £36 million on Martial.
Well, the same with Januzaj. It's like, we've got Januzaj there.
Januzaj's quality.
Let's get rid of him for a season instead.
Well, it's not a case of getting rid. There's a clause in his contract at Dortmund. He has to start so many games. If he's guaranteed starter at Dortmund pretty much week in, week out, I'm happy for him to be there. I think he'll really come on there. It's a great team for him to go to. And if he comes back a better player,
But isn't there the problem with Januzaj is if he goes to Dortmund, realises what a wonderful club it is and how much he's playing football, you might think, geez, I really don't want to be playing under Louis
he's
van
on a
Gaal
long
Man United anymore.
He's on a long-term contract with United. He signed it last season. He's there for a while, and even if he does leave, we can get a big fee for the kid.
Okay, well, the other one that they sold was Javier Hernandez to Leverkusen for 7.5 million. Thereabouts. Again, the same situation with James Wilson. When you've got a striker who's been there and done it all before, I personally, I can't really understand what United are doing at 36.5 million for this striker. So the question I do have to ask is: was this just a panic buy?
Yeah.
I'm not
Yes.
asking whether or not it's going to be a good or a bad purchase, because panic buys can be either. But was this a panic buy?
Yes, it was, but for different reasons. They were panicking because they knew other clubs were sniffing around him, and he was like, if you go a few years back, United were very keen on Nani, but they wanted Nani to stay in Portugal for another season, and they got wind that Tottenham were going to basically match what Lisbon were wanting at the time, so they had to put in I think it was 18 million at the time for him, which they paid more than they wanted to as well. And I think that's been the case with Martial, that they knew Arsenal were certainly looking at him, and another couple of clubs, so that they just had to go in for him at that point.
A similar thing with Memphis Depay as well. PSG and others were after him, and Van Gaal said they had to announce it early, even before the window, and they decided to go for him earlier than planned. So I completely agree with you. I think Martial would have ended up at a bigger club, well, next year. But to go back to your question, Shane, was it a panic buy? I would say they've paid a bit more than they wanted to. However, I think no matter what striker Man United got, it would have been labelled as a panic buy. Even if they'd have got someone like Cavani, they'd say, oh, it's a panic buy, they're buying this star striker. I think it's irrelevant. I think it would have been called a panic buy no matter who they did.
Okay, well, here's the thing. If you buy someone like Cavani, it's fairly certain that he was high up on your list. The thing I wonder was, at the start of this window, when Louis van Gaal and Woodward were going through their targets, would Martial have even been in the top 5 strikers they'd have been looking at?
He's meant to have been on the list for over 12 months.
Yeah, but when like we've seen it quite openly done this whole transfer window about Man United with their transfers. And it wasn't, Martial was just not mentioned right up until the last few days, where it was said this could happen. It was Pedro was being talked about. You had Cavani being talked about for a while. Benzema was even talked about for a little bit. Muller, Neymar. I think Martial was really low on that list, and when they realised they couldn't get their other targets, they said, "Yeah, we've just got to go and get him now. However much this is going to cost us." And I think that constitutes it as a panic buy.
I think it's good play from. I think it's the United board keeping transfers quiet. I think they've done really well with it. I think other transfers, they've not really hit the media long before it's actually happened. If you look at someone like Darmian who joined, there was a load of stuff which was leaked about Seamus Coleman as a bit of a smokescreen. I think, and you look at the other signings, there wasn't much media coverage saying, "Oh, Man United are in for this player or that player." There was nothing about Martial until like the day or two before.
Yeah, but that either means one of two things. It either means they have done very well to keep it under wraps, which I would find highly unlikely in the current climate of Man United transfers, or they really did just go for him last minute.
I think it's the latter.
I'm inclined to say, because of the whole narrative of how this worked out, and that we did hear about most Man United transfers a bit before they happened, I think he was on their list. I think he was just low enough down their list that once they'd gone through all their other targets and realised they weren't getting them, or at least not for any kind of decent money, they looked at this kid and just said, "We've got to take a chance here. Throw how much money they want."
I think that there's so much smoke and mirrors that's gone on with United's transfers over the summer, because every single player that's worth a few pennies has been linked to United this summer. The press just know that United sell the back page of a paper.
Exactly.
So, there's probably only Messi as a top name in Europe that hasn't been linked with United.
What about Renat? Oh, yeah, everyone has.
Everyone has been linked.
He gets linked every summer.
Okay, we will be fair with that. Okay, but let's move on from Man United for now. Let's talk about the transfer window as a whole. Who do we think did the best business in the whole transfer window, and who do we think did the worst business?
Man City by a mile did the best.
At the higher end of the table, I'd say Manchester City. In the middle of the table, Crystal Palace. And at the bottom, for teams to stay up, I'd say Bournemouth.
I think Aston Villa have done a good job. They've got a lot of young, talented players. I think they're going to go under the radar. Some of the players not very well known, but have the potential to really come on. I think Villa. I think Man City. they've gone about their business quietly. Sterling and De Bruyne are brilliant signings, and I think.
And obviously, I think who's the centre back they signed from Valencia?
Otamendi.
That's a good signing as well.
See,
but also, given the fact how brilliant Company and Mangala have started as well.
West Ham and Newcastle, I think, have also done very well.
This is the thing I'm finding a bit of a consistency here. Is mostly when we're talking about the best business, what we're actually talking about is who did the most business or who spent the most money. All the clubs you've listed there have basically either spent the most money or signed the most players. Is that necessarily good business, though?
No. Those all three of those have done a lot of business, but United have signed 7 players, which is a lot of players.
And they've kept hold.
That United have done the best business because
they kept hold of the guy.
Let about 15 go.
Yeah, but that's the mitigating factor of Man United there. But I'm just looking at this consistently. Like, people are turning around and saying Arsenal have done terrible business. I don't think Arsenal have done terrible business. I think of the Premier League clubs, they have done some of the better business because they identified one area which they were very weak in, and they signed a much better player. And they looked at the market, which I think a lot of people must have done, and looked and just gone, there is either nothing out here to buy which is of any quality, or the quality we can buy is so overpriced it is just not worth it. And they didn't panic. They didn't do what Chelsea did at the last day and gone, couldn't get the centre back we wanted, so let's just buy 2 part-timers, basically. They didn't panic. They said, okay, we just don't buy anyone. We have quality in the squad.
I agree with you in a way. I do agree. I do know what you're saying. I kind of agree, but I still think Wenger still definitely wanted an attacking player. But you were sort of again agreeing with you there because they just didn't want to pay the price of what.
They just didn't act quick enough on a lot of them.
They were too relaxed
out there, but they moved. You know, you've got players like Kondogbia. He would have been a perfect fit for Arsenal, but they didn't act on him. They could have got Benzema if they'd have acted.
Benzema would have been the one, yeah.
I don't think he'd have ever joined Arsenal.
He didn't really want it.
I think he would.
I think Arsenal could have offered him enough money with with the London lifestyle, with Champions League football, that they could have tempted him if they seriously went for him. But I think they got told by Real Madrid, you're going to pay this much money, and they just looked at it and just went, it's not worth that. He's not going to get us that many goals in the season. He's not a 30-goal-a-season striker, and I think they looked at it and said, that's the price for a 30-goal-a-season striker. We can't pay that, realistically. But okay, I want to talk about some of the worst business, and it's a bit of a self-deprecating one I want to say here, because I want to say Southampton. Now, I want to say Southampton not because I necessarily... we'll talk about Tottenham in a second, but I want to say Southampton not because we necessarily signed bad players, but because, for me, we have completely changed what that club is about in one transfer window. Most of the young English players we have got sent out on loan, and we signed just a smorgasbord of foreign talent. We've had it for the first few games of the season where we've been playing about one English player in each game, and I just think that's absolutely everything against what Southampton's supposed to be. Even 2 years ago, we were turning around saying we don't believe in the loan market, we don't believe in sending players out on loan at all, it's just not good for players. And now we're turning around and we're loaning out Jack Stevens, who was ready for first-team football as far as I'm concerned, and replacing him with Virgil van Dijk. So I just look at these sorts of things and I think that was not a good window for us, because we've sort of sold our soul a little bit.
You look at the players that you brought in, though, and I think that once they gel, you've got some good players in. You've got Classy, Kolka, Romeo, and Van Dijk, haven't you?
You've also kept hold of Wanyama, which is a good bit of
and Suarez as well, Cedric Suarez.
Yeah, no, like I said, I do think we've done good individual business. I think the players we brought in are at least sort of as good as the players we sold.
Who's the goalkeeper you signed?
Stekelenburg on loan. But I just think, like, I'm looking at the wider picture and thinking, even with the players we've signed, we aren't really going to go better than what we did last year. So if it's about consolidation, you know, finishing 8th and finishing 12th doesn't really make much difference. I'd rather see us try and blood some of those young English players we've got and build a better team for the future. And I just think we've sort of got rid of that. I think Koeman's looked at the academy and said, I don't have as much confidence in it as maybe previous managers have had. And I think he said, realistically, 2 years from now, am I going to be in a job here? Probably not. I could go to Barcelona, so I'm looking for short term. And I am a bit disappointed in all of that. So I think we've had a bad window in that sense.
Just so you mentioned about only one English player or something playing for Southampton, there is a bit of there's been injuries to like first teamers like Forster and Bertrand, which maybe plays a factor, and then Klein being sold
Oh yeah, I mean, the last 2 years we've sold our entire English. Yeah, we've sold our entire English core. So it's only so much you can do about that when you sell that many volume of English players. But we did have players who were ready to come through. I don't know why we bought Geordie Classy. Classy's a good player, very good player for our club. But Harrison Reed has been looking really, really good, and James Ward-Prowse could have been getting more football. We bought in Van Dijk when Jack Stevens. We sent him out on loan. He could have played a part this season. He's good enough for that level now, I think. So I'm looking at that and thinking, and Sam Gallagher as well. We sent him out on loan. Why on earth did we do that? He's ready. He's ready for Premier League football.
I think the Classy though is one that if he gets that, he's not come back from injury, has he yet?
Not yet, no.
But if he looks the deal that people were thinking of him, then you're going to be selling him on for sort of £30 million next year.
Oh, good. Yeah, we're selling him on to Liverpool for £30 million. I can't wait for that.
Yeah. Also, the worrying thing is, deluded Brendan Sampson actually unblocked him as well.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll move on from Sampson. Otherwise, I'll talk about that all day.
Stoke is one that I think have done a very good bit of business over the summer.
I think we should also mention how bad Tottenham have done all weekend. I don't know.
No, you can talk about Tottenham.
I think they've done an awful.
I do think Heung-min Son is an excellent signing. I do think he's going to do really well.
I don't. I completely disagree with that.
I disagree as well.
I watched the German league.
So do I. I just think Son Heung-min, he's a good player. He's a very, very technically gifted player. I do not think physically he's going to cut it in the Premier League.
He's fast. He's so fast and can dribble the ball out and run at people. I think he'll...
Yeah, but
we'll see what happens over a season.
I've said this before. How often in the Premier League do you see one player dribble round another player and then leave them dead for pace? Happens maybe once or twice with Aguero or a player like Sterling in the season. It just most of the time, if a player tries to run away from another player, they get caught up. Defenders are so quick these days. I think you need to have...
the German league's that far removed though from the Premier League.
No, it isn't. But I just think he's a very lightweight kind of player, and I think coming up against this kind of Premier League defenders, who are more inclined to just be physical and try and batter you off the ball rather than the German style, which is try and tackle the ball first, I think he's going to struggle. He's going to come up against a player like Vincent Kompany and just get murdered. I seriously think that.
I agree. And also I just think they needed a ball-winning centre mid. Bentaleb and Mason, whilst they're good youngsters, they need a leader in the midfield who can win the ball. And I think Wanyama would have been perfect for them. I still think they need a pacey winger, which they haven't had since the lost Bale. Obviously, Lennon's not quick anymore. Townsend's not very good. I think they needed Yannick Bolasie or someone in that mould. And
Wasn't there Lamela leaving as well?
I think they didn't have a striker.
Yeah, they didn't get Berahino in one of the more public transfers, which went very badly, and apparently everything they were offering was absolutely insulting. Apparently the money they offered for Wanyama was less than what we paid for him in the first place.
Yeah, Daniel Levy's got to leave that club.
The thing I think, and they did actually sign two of them, Spurs, in Kevin Wimmer and Toby Alderweireld, is I think they needed another centre-back, because I think they have got a few kinds of centre-backs who are all exactly the same centre-back. They're ball players, they like the ball at their feet, they like to, be a bit expressive on the ball. They are not leaders.
They just need a big flatterer, don't they?
They're not leaders, they're not organisers, they're not players like John Terry or Jose Font, where they're not technically amazing defenders, but they organise that entire defence around them. I think they have absolutely no one like that in that team. I think Toby Alderweireld is good, but he isn't that kind of player, and I think they are just going to absolutely ship goals from set pieces this year. So I'm worried a bit for them. I don't think they've had a good year at all in transfers.
I worry for them. And I think Palace deserve mention because I thought they've kept hold of some good players, and they've also added Kabay, and I think Bakary Sakho's an awesome signing as well.
Okay, well, we've talked a little bit about some of the failed transfers. Let's talk about the big one, David De Gea. Now, there's a lot been said about this, about who was responsible for this. But I want to try and move on from that because there's no point in speculating on that. It can go either way. It can
Actually,
go
where's Chris
either
Lappin
way.
tonight? Where's Chris Lappin tonight? Did he get his paperwork through to be on the show?
No, he didn't. He was 2 minutes late on the paperwork. But no, we can speculate all we want. We're not going to get any closer to the truth because we just don't really know. So let's talk about the ramifications of it. What is going to happen with De Gea this year?
Well, it's another one.
I think United will try again to get him to sign a contract. I think they're going to go down the route. Look, Real Madrid really didn't try hard enough to get you. There was nothing happened until transfer deadline day. I think they'll try and get him to sign a new contract. I don't think he will, and I think he'll play for United this season. I think he'll end up leaving on a free in the summer.
January 1st, he will announce that he's joining Real Madrid next summer.
Well, if that seems, and I do think it seems like a bit of an inevitability, do you think it's maybe right of him to be playing this year? I mean, he's a good keeper, but if his head is not in the right place, how is he going to be any better than someone like Romero?
He will be focused. He's a professional player. He needs to be starting to get into the Euro squad, if nothing else. I obviously don't know the guy, but he does seem like a good player, like someone who wants to get his head down and, you know, a winner, if you like. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll get into the team. What will
the fans do to him? Will the fans boo him?
Sorry?
I don't think so. I think the fact that he was the fans player of the year twice running, I think.
He has to come out.
I think they know that Real Madrid come knocking, and most players will leave for that club. It's happened to United with pretty much any decent player that they've had over the last 15 years. So
Beckham.
Ronaldo.
Let's talk about the other major failed transfer of the window, and that was John Stones. I think they ended up quoting Chelsea something along the lines of 40 million to go and get him, and obviously they went off and signed Papi Gilabody and Michael Hector from Reading. Are we? Yeah, I've done well to pronounce that. Are we pleased? Are we pleased that John Stones has stayed at Everton, or do we think it would have been a better move for him to go to Chelsea?
I think it would have been a better move to go to Chelsea. Look at John Terry. He's close to retirement. They haven't really got any other good centre backs apart from Zuma. But John Stones and Cahill. Not only that would be a great partnership for Chelsea, but it could be England's partner. It will be England's future. It is England's partnership. So.
I'm going to say, and I know you'll all shout me down, but I don't rate him that highly.
I agree with you.
I'm not actually going to shout you down on that one.
Not going to shut it down, but
I think he's a very good defender, but I don't think he's any better than someone, say, like Eric Dyer.
No,
I think they're about
not at all
same sort of level, and I can't really get why Stones is rated so highly. I think it is a little bit because he's a bit of a fancy centre back. He's a passer of the ball. He takes the ball out of defence, and we don't really have anyone like that in England.
I
we
think
haven't
it's
ever.
An Everton thing. I think there's something about young English players that come through from Everton that seems to put them on this pedestal.
Well, they do have a good pedigree at Everton for making good English players.
And who was the one that Everton had before that then went to City, was absolute gash, and now has gone to Sunderland?
Rodwell.
Yeah.
Rodwell.
It's like a conveyor belt of these are the next biggest things in the world.
I disagree with you on Barkley. I do maintain he will be an England first teamer. I do think he'll be a top player. Rodwell was a bit unlucky at City. There's a similar thing happened to him. What happened with Sinclair? It just screwed him over going to City.
Okay, but is the other side of this, because this is a bit of a perspective I have, that maybe it's kind of good for the Premier League, that just like in the same way that Real Madrid couldn't get De Gea, that the big clubs can't just go off to a club like Everton and poach their better players, their upcoming players, after one good year in the league. Do you think that's a good thing, or is that maybe is it just another case of it's just going to be next year it happens?
It depends on what Stones wanted. If Stones wanted to go to Chelsea, it depends on John Stones, I'd say. It is nice to see a smaller club fending off Chelsea for a player, but if Stones is wanting to leave and they're making him stay there, then I'd change my opinion.
Seems like a good enough lad, though, and he's not going to be a knob about it.
Yeah, well, straight away he played a very good game for Everton at the weekend, didn't he?
In the game against
Spurs.
Tottenham.
Okay, well, we're almost approaching the halfway point, so let's quickly talk about the Premier League all-time spending. It was 870 million, broke all the records, not by too much this time, as it has done by recent years. But so what do we think about that? Is that a good sign for the Premier League, or is that a bad sign?
I think the odd thing from it was that if you take out United and City, who between them spent 261 million, then the other bigger clubs didn't actually spend that much.
I know, it's quite a year for the sort of the mid-table teams in terms of transfers, I think.
Yeah, because the second biggest net spender was Newcastle.
Well, you look at the mid-table teams, and the quality of player they have been able to sign has really increased in the last few years. Look at Stoke signing Shaqiri, for instance. I think it's a case of the mid-table clubs being able to sign better because of this TV deal coming in.
Okay, well, with 870 million, I just want a quick sort of yes or no answer. Do we think the bulk of that money has been spent well or poorly? So, Richard?
Poorly.
Poorly. Anthony?
Good answer, Anthony.
Nick?
Sorry, mate. I've completely forgotten the question because of that.
Has the bulk of the money been spent well or poorly?
Poorly, I think.
I'm going to agree with you. We'll make that a consensus. Unless Anthony... Is that...
I think it's been spent well.
Oh, okay. Change your mind.
West Brom was the fifth highest net spender.
Well, looks like them signing bloody centre-backs.
Damn. Right, okay, we'll move on then. We're about at the halfway stage now, and we're going to talk about internationals, because of course it is an international week.
Oh, boring.
Yeah. Right, okay. We've seen the new England squad. I'm not going to read it out because I'm sure most people know what the bulk of it is. How close to the 2016 Euro squad do we think this current England squad is?
Yeah.
It's not really an answer, Nick. How close? Yes.
I think probably the vast majority will be. I think there'll be a few changes as
up front. I think
it's
pretty big change. I reckon up front. I reckon it's a real chance again for players to do their job. I mean, I think apart from Rooney and Kane, and obviously when he's back from injury, Sturridge, I think that's three strikers you have already set for the given Kane that has a good season, that's three strikers you've got for Euro next year. But I was looking at the strikers in that squad now: Vardy, Walcott's shite, isn't he?
But Walcott is, just a given in the England squad.
I don't think he should be. I think he's awful. When has he last played well for England? When has he honestly last played well for England? Okay, and everyone's going to say, Croatia 2008.
I don't think he's ever been that bad, but okay.
Because once every about 20 games, he'll suddenly get a hat trick.
Yeah, exactly. For Arsenal, everyone says he's the best player. He's the best thing since sliced bread. What? He'll go and play for England. He'll just be dying all night, and then let's drop him Hodgson. No, Hodgson will still play.
I think the thing about
and everyone still loves him.
I think the thing about Walcott is he's probably not going to start, and he's the only option off the bench, which is slightly different to what we already have. I think that's the thinking with Walcott.
That's a terrible thing. England's so much better than him. Even I'd rather see Andros Townsend come off the bench.
I was just going to say that on England form, I'd sooner have Andros Townsend.
So would I.
Was someone who's been forgotten about. He's injured for months.
He's
now.
always good for England, to be fair.
Danny Welbeck is out until
out
Christmas. Yeah, it's a really bad luck for him because I think he is always good in the England shirt.
Dave Rodriguez, he could have a good time. He could have a good chance. He was close to being the World Cup squad last time. Before he got injured.
I do think if he hadn't got injured, he would have been in the World Cup squad and then inevitably have left Southampton alongside every other player we sent to the England camp. But so, hopefully he gets injured again in a harsh way. But the one I want to talk about is Jamie Vardy, because I cannot understand for the life of me why he's been included in this squad. Because there is no chance in hell that he will be anywhere near that 2016 squad. And if you are not calling up players with that in mind, what the hell are you calling them up for?
I do agree with you. However, there's nobody I look at in the Premier League who is better than Vardy.
Callum Wilson. Charlie Austin would be a better option. Wilfred Zaha has played every game of the season so far for Palace, and he's been outstanding. All of those players have one thing in common, that they're very young and could have a future in the England squad. Jamie Vardy has no future in the England squad. This is a reward, a biscuit for doing well in the Premier League. And I'm sorry, this is the bloody England team. It is not a reward for doing well in the Premier League. It is.
Personally, I would say today, if I had to play one game today, and I had to choose Vardy or Austin up front, I'd have Jamie Vardy up front.
Yeah, same.
If I had to choose a game today, with potential in mind, someone like Zaha would be great, or James Wilson even, or possibly even Callum Wilson. But if I had to play a game tomorrow, one of the two, I would pick Jamie Vardy.
I think it's sort of showing how far, how low the quality of England strikers have become when it's a choice of Charlie Austin or Jamie Vardy, though.
Well, I think no one is there because they're all for him.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that problem a little bit more later. I look about and I think there's a few players in this squad who either will not have a future in the England squad, and I can't tell why they're being included, or should not have a future in the English squad. One of them is a bit controversial, and it's a player I actually think is a fine player and one I very much like, but Michael Carrick. I think he's a very... Michael Carrick...
Michael Carrick at some point shit on your cornflakes.
No, I like Michael Carrick. I think Michael Carrick is an
midfielder, and he's the best English centre midfielder guy, and he's probably England's most underused player of all time.
I agree with both sentiments. I think he's a fine player, and I think earlier in his career he should have been used much more. He's in
his 30s. He's washed up.
But no, he's not washed up. He is aging. The thing I'm thinking,
once you're in your 30s, you're screwed. In my opinion.
The thing I'm thinking is we do actually have quite a lot. We do have quite a lot of good. One of the few positions we actually have players coming through is the midfield area. Midfield and defence, I think, are the only two areas we have good young players coming through. I just think Michael Carrick, maybe he'll be involved in that Euro 2016 squad, but he will not be a starter in that Euro 2016 squad. He will at most come off the bench once or twice because we're going to obviously go outside of the group stages. I don't know why we haven't gone for a younger option there, because as much as I like Carrick, he is not the future, he is the past.
Yeah,
name a good young option then.
James Ward-Prowse, who has played every single game this season for Southampton and has been outstanding.
I think James Ward-Prowse, you probably know more than I do. I think James Ward-Prowse, someone who got forward more.
I know he's been moved into a more defensive midfield position this year, and he's been much, much better for it.
Okay. Yeah, but you can't put that much pressure on your kids playing. That's such an important role in my opinion.
Shane, I think you're right on a lot of things, but on this one, I think you're miles out of the ground on it.
I am accepting that this is a controversial position. It's one I almost don't agree with myself.
Well, Italy, they're never going to drop Pirlo, are they?
If you go sort of a couple of years back, like Euros or World Cup or whatever, you have the Spain team. The Spain have depths of quality that England would only dream of. Italy the same in their midfield, the quality of players that they've got. Would you have taken Xavi or Pirlo out of those sides to make way for a 23-year-old?
No, exactly. But here's the difference. In those teams, those players are guaranteed to play. I do not think Michael Carrick is going to be in with a first-team shot at Euro 2016. I do not think Roy Hodgson will start him. I think at most he's a sub-player.
Personally, I don't think Roy Hodgson will be picking him for each England squad if he didn't intend on starting him in the next tournament.
Well, he's called up bloody Jamie Vardy twice.
Carrick in the past,
I think he just does it based on merit, which I think is good.
No. Carrick in the past has said he doesn't want to be. He said before he doesn't want to be considered for England squads if he's not going to be a first team, if he's going to sit on the bench for the whole tournament, which he's done in the past. He said he wouldn't accept a role like that, and I agree with him when he's looking at what's in front of him starting. I think he'll end up being a first choice midfielder in the next tournament.
Tell you what,
if you look through the England squad for players that are at the top level and that can compete with some of the better ones in Europe, there are few and far between, but Michael Carrick is someone that has that quality.
I don't disagree, but the one thing I will say is my main reasoning for this is I do not think Roy Hodgson will play him. If he is going to be involved in the first team, if he will be a first-team player at the Euros, I would have no objection to him playing, because he is an excellent central midfielder. I just personally do not think Roy Hodgson will pick him as a first-team player.
If he doesn't intend on picking him for the Euros, then in that case I agree with you, but I do think he'll play in the Euros, so I don't agree with you.
Okay, the other one I want to talk about, and this might again be a bit of a controversial one, Phil Jagielka, I think, has never proven he is good enough for international football, and because we do have good centre-backs coming through at the moment, I cannot fathom why he keeps getting called up.
Well, I think it's because, again, he's the best out of the bunch, but he's never good for England when he plays.
Right, but if we're conceding that he maybe isn't of the quality needed, then why persist with him? Why not go, well, we could actually maybe develop another player who could be good enough. Maybe they're both not good enough at the moment, but in time, one's only going to get worse and one's only going to get better. Why wouldn't we take the more forward-thinking option? Eric Dyer, I think, has been quite good for Spurs so far. I know he's been playing a bit in defensive midfield type of position, but I think he's a natural centre-back, and I think he's been very good so far this season. I think he was good last season. And I think he's got a lot of room to improve. Phil Jagielka has consistently been absolute gash at international
The
level.
thing is, as well, I think you're seeing these games as friendlies as well, and they're not. They're competitive games.
Well, yeah, that's what they are, competitive games. But if you're picking an England squad, you have to have two thoughts: one, who is actually playing at the moment, and who's playing well. The second thought is, am I going to use these players in the future? Are these players for the future? Two thoughts, that's what they have to be. Because if you aren't thinking for the future, then it's just an ad hoc England team being sellotaped together every single selection time, which has pretty much never worked for any international team ever in history. It seems to be the way we're sticking with it. You have to plan for the future. Every successful national team plans for the future. We don't.
No, I agree, but taking a few older players, such as Jagielka and Carrick, I don't think this, stops you planning for the future when there's many other younger talents in the squad, which Roy Hodgson has blooded a lot of young players.
I agree with Shane on this one. In respect to the Carrick one, he's of a proven quality. Jackie Elker's just always been a fairly decent defender for a mid-table club.
I don't think that he should start though for England. I think he's okay enough to be in the squad in case someone pulls up, but I think Cahill and Stones are probably your pairing.
Well, I'd go for Cahill and Smalling, but if it's a case of he's just in the squad to make up the numbers, then again, why wouldn't we pick the younger option to give him the international experience? Why would we stick with someone who, again, is only just going to get worse? I don't understand that one, personally. Okay, there's just one more I want to talk about, and that's Kieran Gibbs, who has played a grand total of 15 minutes of football this season, and has been called up. Now, I know we have injuries to left back.
I like Gibbs, so I don't want to slag him off.
Yeah, I like Gibbs. But
that's just stupid, though, isn't it? That's so unfair, and it's just, how do you justify it? 15 minutes of football, you should not be in the team.
Fabian Delph is another one who has that. I think he's had about 40 minutes of football.
Who's the other left back?
Yeah, but he's a snake, he shouldn't be in the team anyway. He's an absolute snake, Delph, he shouldn't be in the team.
I think you can decide on that. Well, would Wayne Rooney have ever got to get the game then for England?
Yeah, we're just not picking dickheads. They're all being dropped, frankly.
Jack Wilshere as well.
But no, we'll go back to Kieran Gibbs.
But you criticised Gibbs being picked, but who's this other left back that you pick instead of Gibbs then?
Well, do you know what I would think? Again, I'd think the same two things.
Cresswell.
Eva Cresswell was one of the ones I was going to say. I'd say
he had a stinker against Bournemouth a few weeks ago.
One bad game, but it's either Cresswell or, for me, and this isn't just me being a Southampton fan here, Matt Targett. No, Matt Targett, because Bertram's injured.
What?
Mainly because Kieran Gibbs barely played last year, hasn't really played at all this year, and he's just kind of not really proven he's any good when he's played. So I don't. Matt Targett has played every single game this season, has looked fine.
You've just said that that the England team should be staying consistent rather than sellotaping an England team together each time. He's picked Gibbs and Delph are basically regulars in this thing, in the England squads. And I'm not, Gibbs obviously hasn't played, and I don't probably doesn't deserve the place on its own merit, but he is a regular in that squad, and I think today he's a better left back than Targett or Cresswell, despite the potential of the latter two.
I just think, for me, there's that general quota of are they playing and are they playing well, and the second one is do we have a future in the squad? And I think he fails the first one in the sense he's just not even playing. Barely played last year. For me, you have to pick the people who are either playing or you think they have a future in the squad. You have to go along those lines. I think Kieran Gibbs could have a future in the squad because I do think he has a bit of potential in him. He's not playing at all. How do you justify picking someone who isn't playing in that squad?
Do you believe that the England squad should stay consistent throughout each side?
We should try and keep it as consistent as possible, but just in the name of consistency doesn't mean we should keep calling up bad players or players who aren't playing. There's a lot of players who I think we should drop and then call up some other players and then start doing a consistent team, if that makes sense. Okay, well, alright, I think we've probably exhausted that discussion. We're going to move on to San Marino v England. So, what do you reckon will happen in that game? I reckon, shock San Marino win, obviously.
6-0.
I think England will probably put about 8 past them.
Yeah.
Wayne Rooney will get enough goals to be the top England scorer of all time, and the press will laud England as the best thing ever.
Deep down, would you actually love it though? I know it's no. Would you find it quite hilarious if San Marino did win 1-0 or something?
Do you know, just for the fact it's San Marino,
brilliant.
yeah, just for the fact it's San Marino, yes. If it was any other team in the world, I
No,
know,
so-
but San Marino.
This
Come
is
on, it'd be
obviously,
fun.
I just would love to see the meltdown and everything. I just find it hilarious.
That would be Hodgson's job gone.
Yeah, but no, all joking aside, I think you're looking at 6-7 nil.
Yeah.
See, I don't like these games when we play like teams like this because it's just a bit boring, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd like to see Harry Kane score a few as well.
Yeah,
least
He needs
Switzerland
to
game.
score now.
he needs to get back into scoring form. Well, okay, that's the kind of boring game. The other one is Switzerland v England. I'm going to see this one. I'm right up in the nosebleeds. Literally, I'm in the furthest away seats from the pitch that is humanly possible, other than sitting on the roof. But how do we reckon this one's going to go? Because that's a
I'm
tough
not
game.
scared of heights.
That's a tough game, I think. So how do we reckon that one's going to go?
I think England will walk it again.
I think we'll win 2-3-0.
It's
yeah,
qualifiers. We just do well with it.
I don't think it'll be an easy game, but I'd expect England to win, but it won't be easy. Switzerland are a good side, but we did go there and win. So I suppose by that logic you'd expect England to win the home game.
You've got to be expecting, come the end of these two games, for Rooney to have claimed the most ever goals.
Well, I don't have anything else to say unless anyone else wants to say anything on that one.
I want Rooney to.
Well, does he deserve it?
No.
Jeff Hurst says no.
No, he doesn't. I think when you're playing teams like San Marino, I know that the other players who've got the high goals, they played in friendlies, they played against weak opposition. I just think with Wayne Rooney, the big thing with him is he has never done it at a tournament level. He has never really done it against the big. No, he hasn't ever done it at tournament level. He scored one goal at tournament level.
In competitive games than the other two.
Yeah,
Quality at Euro
I
2004.
I just think whilst Rooney is an excellent player, that title of being England's top ever goal scorer, and it's going to be a while before it gets broken. I would have preferred that to have stuck with someone more deserving. That's my perspective. Yes, of course he's earned it by scoring the most goals, but I just not something I'm terribly happy with.
He's not someone you think of as you think of a typical English striker who you want your kids to emulate, and you don't think, oh yeah, I wish my kids were like Rooney.
I wish my kids, every time that the decision went against him, just told the referee to go and bleep, 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 bleep himself, and dived on the floor and was a moaning bastard. Oh God, yeah, he's not the pinnacle of English football, is he? Of all time.
Well, and
that's what you want as a top
strikers,
scorer.
obviously, that he's overtaking in Lineker and Charlton, who between them they never got a yellow card.
Yeah, gentlemen of the game.
Yeah, Lineker's
classy players.
Best TV
I do
presenter of all time.
I think it's hard to compare a player who's playing now with a former player. That's something I always struggle with.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think give it 10 years once Rooney's done. I think that's the time to ask the question: was he as great as these players? The thing also, what it's hard to say is because I wasn't, I didn't grow up seeing Lineker or Hurst or any of the other strikers. I don't like comparing that. So I would say Rooney's the best England striker I've ever seen, but the only other player I can really compare him to is Owen.
I think he wasn't even in Shearer's league, and I hated Shearer.
I have to agree with that. I didn't like Shearer particularly, even though he did come from Southampton.
I know a lot of United fans hate Shearer.
But yeah, if you were doing like an all-time team and you said, do you pick Shearer for your team or do you pick Rooney? Who here doesn't pick Shearer?
I pick Rooney.
Oh,
I'd pick Shearer.
yeah, I'd pick Shearer. It's
I don't know.
I think I just want to go back on Lineker, because Lineker was an 80s 90s player, and he was completely of a different era to what he was in. Because you look back at the sort of the teams from the 80s, and there was a lot of rough players back then. Most players you'd expect getting yellow cards left, right, and centre, and he never got one. He was he was a player really from sort of 30 years before that. A proper everybody's wearing caps of the game.
Yeah, bit of a John Charles type of character.
Yeah,
everyone loved him, and with good reason. So yeah, no, I do think Rooney is not the pinnacle of English football, and that's why I think being the top all-time scorer is a record he's going to hold for a while. And I just think it reflects bad, I think, in a little way on England that's happened.
He's been blessed in that he came into the striker position at a time where there was a real sort of downturn on the quality of England players.
Oh yeah, if he'd come in during the time of Shearer or Lineker, no chance does he end up with this kind of record. So I think, yeah, he has been a bit lucky. We're going to move on from that discussion now, because we've still got quite a bit of time left. We're going to move on to our big final discussion, and this is a discussion about the state of English football. Now, we mentioned it earlier about how it's been a lot of foreign talent have come into England, and I'm just going to give you a quick figure here. 859 million is roughly what's been spent, not including add-ons, and 550 million of it has been spent on foreign talent, but that is not including foreign talent that has moved in the domestic leagues. So the vast bulk of players who have come in have been foreigners, and almost no English players have moved abroad. You can count them on one hand. So the question I want to ask is English football in a good way, or is it in a bad way?
It's in a dire way.
Okay, can you expand on that a bit?
Well, just look at the example of the quality of the England side. And, apart from sort of Sterling coming through, there's not many players that I think they are potential world-class players. There's just nothing coming through that excites me of English players at the moment.
See, I don't particularly agree with that, in that there's nothing coming through. I just think most of the stuff that's coming through will never get given a chance. Look at James Wilson at Man United. I can predict James Wilson's career I can predict right now. 22 years old, he moves to a much worse team than Man United. I'm going to go ahead and say that now, even though I think he is a quality player, James Wilson, and could be a quality player. Because when a team just turns around and spends 36 million on the French James Wilson, same age, I think same sort of potential, it shows that there aren't many clubs in England that have any faith in British talent anymore. And look at Southampton. We used to be the pinnacle of that just a few years ago. And now we are really moving away from that, I think. It's something I hate. We're seeing our players starting to go on loan, which is, the kind of thing Chelsea does. I don't like that at all. We're seeing just one or two English players in the first team. There's no sanctuary for the English player anymore. There's no club an English player can go to now and think, I'm going to get given a chance here. If I do my hard work, if I try, and if I turn out to be quite good, I will get given a chance. There's no club in the Premier League that is a sanctuary anymore.
The issue is that it's the Premier League, and clubs have to survive and have to do well in the Premier League in order to keep themselves going. I think the main problem is there's not enough English players who try and do something abroad. Like, we don't see any English players in, say, the German league or the Spanish league or the French league or anywhere. I think if more English players tried to do that, and say James Wilson, for instance, if he tried to get into, a decent German side, for instance, he might be better. I
completely agree with that sentiment, but part of the problem is, you look at the other spending in the other leagues. Italy were the second highest spending league with about 400 million, which is, half of what England spent. I think the next three best leagues were Italy, Spain and Germany. I think added up together they only just beat what the Premier League spent. So the problem is we have this inflated rate for signing English players, we have this inflated rate for signing Premier League players full stop. I don't think these other leagues can spend that kind of money on English players. I don't think they can risk it just as much as the English leagues can. So I think it's not necessarily the problem that the English players don't want to move abroad. It's that they can't afford to move abroad. They can't afford to be bought now. They've been priced out of that kind of market. The only market they are affordable in is the Premier League market, and no one's willing to take that risk because they're seen as not proven.
The problem still for me, and I bleat about it every time what's the problem with the English game comes out, is the grassroots of the game.
Okay.
And the quality of the coaching at an early age in this country, and the quality of the pitches that are available.
The one thing I'll say about that, and I completely agree with you, there is a hell of a lot more to be done for the kind of country we are. The one thing I'll say about it is I do think we are still, as a nation, in the top 10 in terms of grassroots level of football, in terms of development level of football for young players.
Oh yeah, if you compare it to sort of a Brazil and stuff where they're playing in the street with cans and stuff, then yes. But if you compare it to our main rivals in Europe, in Germany and Spain, then we're light years behind.
Yeah, definitely. But we're at a level where. Sorry, Anthony, go on. Okay,
go on, sorry.
Yeah, okay. We're at a level where I think we should definitely be producing more than we are. I think the problem isn't the development stage. I think we are producing enough of a volume of players and enough of a quality of players that they are good enough. I think they're hitting the ages between 16 and 23, and they're just not getting given a shot. Because you look at the English players, look at the likes of Harry Kane. I think we have a big problem in finding the Harry Kanes, which are players who are very good when they're given a chance. They're given just 6 or 7 months and they prove themselves. But most players aren't even getting given that sort of time in a team, because the clubs can just go ahead and say, right, we could give this player a shot. If he doesn't work out, we're going to get slated for it. We can go around and spend 10 million on the player from the French league. He'll probably be all right. He'll at least do us over. I just think we're lacking that in between stage. I think youth development needs a lot of improvement, but not as much as we think it needs. It's actually getting them into playing games at a high enough level. I think that is the big problem.
I think the managers, though, they have, they've got to watch out for their jobs. If it was my job on the line, and it's take the safer bet with some, say a striker who's scored this many in the French league, or this guy who's done well for my under-21 team, I'd pick somebody who's proven himself at a higher level. It's my job on the line at the end of the day. I think that's a big issue, the fact that managers can get sacked so easily. It's like you've sort of inferred with it with Ronald Koeman earlier. If he knew he was going to be there for the next 10 years, then maybe he would act differently and maybe be a bit more inclined to ensure the English talent progresses a bit better.
Well, yeah, there we are talking about a problem in football, and it is a problem that exists across the football world, is short-termism in football. Because, yeah, the people in the board, the chairmen, they're looking at us and going, we just need to make money. We need to make money, we need to be profitable, we need to stay in the league, we need to maybe try and qualify for European football. They're looking at all of us and going, we have to have proven quality right away. We can't afford to... If you stagnate in the Premier League, it's going backwards. It's not just staying still. You are getting worse because everyone else is getting better. So you have to keep improving every single year. And I think managers have the same problem where they're going, we have to keep improving, therefore we can't take the chance. And so you have no top-down impetus to say, we need to play these players, we need to give these players a chance. And the FA, as much as they're doing slightly better work than they were doing before, they are not taking it heavy enough.
They're idiots.
Well,
refs.
The new rules they've done are an improvement, but they're just not as far as they need to be. It's not enough telling these clubs you need to start playing these players. Otherwise, we are just not going to have any kind of good national team in the future.
Well, the question is, do you enforce something like the 6+5 rule or something like that, where teams are forced to play so many English players or so many homegrown players? Is it something you should enforce, or is it up to the clubs who they wish to play, whether they wish to play 11 French players or whatever?
I think you definitely enforce it. I think you say you have to have at least 4 players in the first team squad, so that it's a core of players. You can't just have a token player. Therefore, you are having to develop these players to a good enough level to play in the first team.
Hang on, sorry, 4 homegrown players or 4 English players?
English players. The homegrown thing is just a bunch of bollocks.
But if you have a 12-year-old kid, say, who's foreign but has joined your academy and grown up through it, do you not think that's okay?
No, I just think straight up that's a problem, that we have foreign players in the academy. No one abroad is producing English players in their academy. The only place that is producing English players is England, and you got teams like City and Chelsea with tons of foreigners in their academy. Jesus Christ, Chelsea are producing more Spaniards than some of the Spanish clubs. That is a huge problem.
Part of that is the rule that clubs can only bring in English players within a certain distance around, and as soon as that came in was when then English clubs thought, well, that only works for English players, but we can bring in foreign players and there's no restriction on it.
I'd just have a straight up ban on signing under 18 players from foreign countries.
Yeah, same.
It's as simple as that.
But then other countries would go ahead of us in, the likes, young players would then, instead of joining, a Man United or Arsenal or whatever, they'd end up joining a Bayern Munich or a PSG.
Well, I'd sign them when they're a bit more better than them.
Yeah, as opposed to what? Signing them when they're 16, 17, never playing them for 5 years, loaning them out for the entirety of that 5 years, and then selling them for $2 million afterwards. That's what we're currently doing. We're not signing these young players and they're getting a chance eventually. We're just wasting them entirely.
Or just do what United do and wait until they're 19 and spunk 50 million on them.
Yeah, well, just because we're signing these players doesn't mean we're getting any results out of them. I think that's a big problem. I think we need quite a few things to change. We need actual legislation that enforces that these clubs play these English players. They're included in the first team squads, because it's the only way you're going to force these clubs to play them and get them out of that short-term perspective. I think we need to change the transfer window. I think that needs to change dramatically, because at the moment, a club can just look at that, even if they've got a player like James Wilson in their academy, who I think is outstanding, they can just go, oh, we'll just spend 36 million on Anthony Martial. You know, we can just go ahead and do that.
If you put these English quotas on for English players, though, that would put the price of them up even more.
Well, they'll be spending less money on foreign players, so I think it'll all work out fine.
No, because, say, like, I don't know, Sterling, would he have cost 100 million if City had to get that English player? And therefore, wouldn't that cause less English players to go and play abroad? There's not at the moment, admittedly, but then there'd be nothing.
That would be the other rule I wanted to bring in, which is a transfer cap. I have never believed in this before. I've always said it's a laissez-faire market. Players should earn what they want. Clubs should be able to sell players for what they want. And they should be able to buy them for what they want. But this last transfer market, where Man City have had one poor season, and a poor season is finishing second, and they go and spend 150 million effectively buying that league, that is a problem. That is a problem for the Premier League, because that is all competition dead there. Because even if you're a team like Southampton, like Everton, like West Ham, and you've got ambitions for top four, at most you are getting in the top four for 1 year before one of those other clubs just says, we've had a bad year, we're just going to outspend everyone now. We're going to buy the best players across Europe, that's it, done, we are guaranteed top four. I think that is a waste. Yes, I think we still need to be the most competitive league, and I'd have a system where it's the revenue of the top club and the revenue of the bottom club, and you work it out from there, so it would still end up being about 70 million, I think, if I worked it out, for each club to be able to spend. But the rate it is at the moment, it is not competitive, and it is promoting the lack of English players. It is promoting that we go out and buy these foreign players, because it's just too competitive in that sense.
I think in that respect, though, that if the moment you start putting restrictions upon the league, then the glamour of the English league and the lure of it to the entire globe as it is, because it's the biggest league in the world for what it pulls in across the globe, that will start to dissipate. You start putting forward English-based teams, then in China, in Korea, in the USA, there isn't going to be the audience for it.
Exactly.
And then the money starts to dry up.
Tell you what, I am an ardent patriot, and I think that is fine. Because if no one else is produced, I want to see English talent succeed. I want to see English players succeed. I want to see English clubs succeed. But if we are sacrificing the Englishness of that and saying, doesn't matter, it's just about having foreign mercenaries now, we are giving up everything football stands for in this country. I do not think it is worth it just to have a successful Premier League. And I think if we are producing these players, because they will have to compete with the highest level of players, the league eventually, even though we might have a bit of a dip for a few years in quality, it will get back up to that level. Because just from the fact that these players have to compete with the David Silvas, the Lukakus, all of these kinds of players, they have to get up to that level. So I think the Premier League is now an established enough global market that it will not drop off immediately, and especially the fact that the Spanish market doesn't appeal to a lot of countries because it's Spanish speaking, German market doesn't appeal because it's German speaking. I think we've kind of got it mostly locked down now, where we can say we can make changes and we're not having too significant losses on that.
I don't agree with you on a transfer cap in general. I do think there should be more financial fair play, should be stricter, and there should be more to force clubs to spend within their means. I'd agree with something along those lines. But to say to every club you can spend 70 million and that's it, or whatever amount it is, an arbitrary amount, I don't like the sound of that. But if you said to a club, yes, you have to spend this much, or you can have this much debt, or whatever, that is more something I can agree with.
As a fellow United fan, I want some rules that basically clubs can spend in what they generate.
Well, I think that would all that would do is retain the same system, only everyone's spending a bit less. That's all that would do, I think. I think we've got to the point now where we have to cap it off. And, it wouldn't be arbitrary. It would be, you look at what the average, revenue of Premier League clubs is, and you say, we balance it around there. I just think at the moment it's gone too far. It has gone much too far, because we talk about, the Premier League being the most competitive league in the world, and I do think it is in the sense that the clubs have the best players, but it's a free-tier league, and that will never change. I can't see a single club in the Premier League long-term breaking into the top four outside of a traditional top four. For 5 years in a row, can't see it happening at all. And I think that's just a problem.
City were never a part of the Big Four.
And then they got all the money in the world, and before financial fair play rules, and managed to outspend everyone. football has become a matter of money. It's not a matter of the sport. It's not a matter of sportsmanship. It's not a matter of fair play. It's not a matter of who's the best at football in just the purest sense. It's not a matter of developing players yourself. It's not a matter of values. It's not a matter of community or the club. It's a matter of money. And I'm sorry, if that's happened, sport has lost all its soul. And what the hell are we doing then?
Football lost its soul like 23 years ago.
Well, let's take it bloody back.
No, that's when it started, according to Sky Sports. That's when football started.
Yeah, it started losing its soul.
Yeah, but there's no reason why we can't take it back, because I think English football has got into such a state now where we aren't succeeding on any fronts. Premier League clubs aren't succeeding in Europe. English football is not succeeding in international level. If we're doing all this to make this the most competitive league in the world, but we're not having the most competitive league in the world, what the hell is this all about?
But the moment that you start making the league worse, then every single fan of the game, apart from yourself in England, would moan about, oh, the English league's getting shit.
And they'd still watch it because it's the best marketed league in the world. I'm sorry, people say, if the quality gets a bit worse, advertisers have made the Premier League as big as it is, not the players. It's been effective marketing. I think we're at the point now where it's established enough we don't have to worry about that having as much impact as a lot of people think it would. People aren't going to watch the German league because it's a German-spoken league. People aren't going to watch the Spanish league because it's a Spanish-spoken league. Look at people that watch Liga BBVA, Spanish-speaking countries. English competes because it is English. It's the best English league there is.
Yeah.
That's the big thing for it. So I think we can afford to do it now, and I think there's no good reason why we aren't, because there's no point anymore. We're not succeeding on any level. We are not advancing in any way. We're not advancing football in any way. So why are we persisting with this broken formula?
I think the only reason to is for the national game, and as a United fan and a lot of other now fans of clubs in the Premier League, the national game is just a secondary thing.
Oh,
but that's so sad. That is so sad, is it not?
I completely agree with you, Richard, actually. We were having a debate, actually, about whether you'd sooner see your club win the Champions League or whether you'd see England win the Euros.
I would sooner see England win the Euros. I've said it before on this podcast. I would rather see a successful England team than a successful Southampton. I'd rather see Southampton producing a load of quality English players but not succeeding as a club, but making England succeed. I think if we've gotten to the stage now where we're saying club is more important, with all the problems that we have in club football, with just the money and the mercenaries and the diving and all of that crap, and we're saying club football, that's the one that really matters, I just think we have really admitted that we've lost it.
The problem is, though, that you only get that euphoria for England like once every 2 to 4 years, and it's a very small sort of concentrated time where that you've got 4 weeks in which you suddenly build up your hopes, and usually for England it's about 2 weeks, so they're out after that point. But for the other 50 weeks of the year, your badge is your club badge.
I think there's so much apathy toward the international game in general. I'm not ashamed to say that I care more about club football than international football, apart from, when a World Cup or Euros is on for that 2 weeks.
I tell you what, I
think the peaks that you can reach as sort of a high with England are far higher than you can ever get with your club.
Yeah.
I think if England got to the World Cup final, then everybody in the country would be absolutely up in arms. It'd be street parties, etc., which you would never get with just a club.
Yeah, it's a uniting force for an entire country, international football.
The World Cup is awesome as well. But also, then it's also it's just brilliant when the whole pub's supporting the same team as well. Rather, obviously, when if you're down the pub and watching United, there's a select few in there. But when you're watching England, the whole pub's round. Everyone's sort of shitting on England. I think it's just brilliant.
But it's such a small window in which that happens.
It's only the World Cup and the Euros, really.
But is this not all of this stuff we're talking about? The apathy, the fact that people just aren't really infused about the international game, and the fact it's the second now to clubs. Is that not a symptom? Is that a symptom of all the crap we're talking about, or is it just there anyway? Was it always there?
I think it's also part of the mentality of people now, though, that it's short-termism. The attention span of people nowadays is so small that you just forget about England until the international comes around.
I don't know what's like in other major European countries, but I wonder how the German or Spanish or Italian or whatever fans feel about their countries, other than in a World Cup or Euros. Is it the same there or about their club? I would assume the same, but I think it's a case of, because they always qualify for the tournaments, it's not an issue. If you look at, say, Scotland or Wales, where they're both exceeding expectations, there's a lot of excitement, especially in Wales, who have won tonight 1-0. And, Gareth Bale, the hero there.
Yeah, but I'd also say for Wales, though, that they're not going to go back and go on about the Welsh League.
No, that's true. That is...
Then look at what's gone above England and how much excitement there is there. It's great to see. But that's because it's not like where in Wales' case that it's always a struggle. It's always easy for them to qualify. It's always a struggle when they don't qualify normally. I think it's a case of exceeding expectations and doing something great. And it's the similar things happening in Scotland as well.
I do disagree a little bit in the sense you look at, say, the German league as a great example of things being done right in football in a more moral sense in a way, in a lot of ways.
Sorry, what I meant was the typical German fan. Does he care about the German national team, or is it the same?
This is what I'm trying to say. You look at someone like Bayern Munich. Even a big club like Bayern Munich has a sense of responsibility towards the German national team. They have it. It's part of their sort of mantra. It's 2 for the German team, 2 for the club, 2 for the league. It's a wider system. They don't just think what is best for Bayern Munich. They go what is best for Germany too. We have to have that responsibility. And all the German clubs have this combined sense of responsibility. It's all part of the national game. It's not just for Premier League or the international game. It's all a part of it, and that contributes to it because they're cheering on German players every single week. It's a universe of it, so to speak.
Well, their psyche went through that thing a few years ago, and it didn't work out that well then.
Well, okay, yeah, but we don't have any. Like I said, with the whole debate we've almost had here, is it the Premier League or is it the national team? In a lot of countries, that isn't a debate. It's both. You go, it's all part of the same thing. We just can't identify that in England. And I think that is, again, just another symptom of all that is wrong at the moment in English football. And that we are doing so many things right in terms of we're expanding the game to broader horizons. We've got lots of good foreign talent. I think that is a good thing. And, it's the best marketed league in the world. All the clubs are now starting to turn a profit. That's great. But if we are sacrificing that on the altar of everything else, it's not worth it anymore. It stopped being worth it a while ago, I think.
Well, I think that the only way you start at it is at the very bottom, and that's not been addressed, and still is not being addressed.
I don't think it's one solution solves this. I think things like grassroots level, things like changing the transfer window a little bit, things like changing the rules about which players, how many players you play in each team. I think it's a lot of little things. It's an amalgamation of small solutions that would otherwise, solve the bigger problem. I don't think there's one solution to it, and I don't think we're actually anytime soon, especially, going to solve this problem. So, bit of a bleak ending. Okay, but we are going to have to wrap it up there. We're up to 1 hour and 12 minutes. Thank you for joining us this week on the V2 Football Podcast. We'd love to get your views on the forum at 606V2 and on Twitter at V2 Football and on Facebook as well on V2 Football. Please join us again next week. That's thank you from me.
And thank you from me.
And good night.